What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more hardcore, and we're going to listen to a tune from the most recent Gabberhead. This is Volume 10, and it's given the subtitle Gold Edition. And we're going to listen to a tune by Kev G and Devastate. I'm not familiar with the work directly, but we're going to listen to a remix, and it's by Biodome. And I've reacted to Patrick's tunes before, so shout out to Patrick, aka Biodome. And the track is called Creamy, and it samples the old Wu-Tang track C.R.E.A.M, which is written as an acronym, Cash Rules Everything Around Me. I believe it's a Method Man-led tune. I think he does the chorus for that one. So yes, this is a callback to a hip-hop album which was very influential for me. I probably have told the story when I did some Wu-Tang reactions now a couple years ago, but that was the first album that really turned my head toward a more hardcore style of hip-hop. I had heard some rap before, but that album was definitely a game changer in terms of how much I was paying attention to hip-hop. I think it remains an all-time classic. Now, fair to say, C.R.E.A.M is not by any means my favorite track on that album, but it does have a very catchy hook and chorus, and I think it's the kind of sample that's begging for a hardcore incorporation or sampling. So yes, ultimately, let's give a listen to the Biodome remix of Creamy, originally by Kev G and Devastate, on the most recent Gabberhead, which, as I said, is Gabberhead 10. And now I'm forgetting, is it the last track? Yes, the last track on the A side. You're alright, Luca.
I've already been taught these rules, and I think I understand them. What I'd really like is to learn the death moves.
J.E., there is no special move that is best. It all depends. Any move could be best. It's up to you when the time's right to move correctly, accurately, and with great speed, like this.
I love it. So, definitely some of those. Actually, I'll explain it from the other way around. So, one of the things that made 36 Chambers, or I think it's technically Enter the Wu-Tang, and then subtitle of the album is 36 Chambers, but often referred to as 36 Chambers. One of the things that made it very innovative was its particular use of samples. Now, sampling had been part of hip-hop from the very earliest days, and indeed, that was sort of one of the issues that the genre had to deal with when it came to like taking little bits from tracks from major labels and artists and, just using them. And eventually, this led to a greater and more nuanced understanding of copyright laws and so on. But Wu-Tang took a lot of their earliest samples, and I think even for the next several albums. After you get to like 2000, I wasn't following Wu-Tang as closely, so I don't know if this is something they continued with over the duration of their career. But in the earliest Wu-Tang releases, especially 36 Chambers, there's a lot of samples from old school English dubs of kung fu or other like martial arts movies, whether Hong Kong movies, Chinese movies, Japanese movies. And so there's a lot of samples from dialogue in those movies, but there's also like combat samples where you can hear, from the original kung fu movie, people fighting and grunting and punching and so on. And there's a couple moments there where it's definitely taking some of those samples straight from the 36 Chambers album, because the samples, they play out over the course of several of the tracks on that album. But yeah, there's a couple moments here where it's those straight combat martial arts movies, like fighting samples put into this track. Now that opening bit is very much in the same vein, like I want to learn the death move. I don't remember that from Enter the Wu-Tang, so I'm thinking that was a sample either taken from somewhere else, not from 36 Chambers, or not at the very least, but perhaps even recorded anew, but in the style of those old school hip-hop tracks that were produced by RZA, one of the main members, like the producer of the first few Wu-Tang albums. And again, it's done not only using a Wu-Tang sample, but with that opening, which we hear a little tidbit of at the end again, it's very Wu-Tang style. So shout out to Kev G and Devastate, because presumably a lot of that is in this, or the original version of this tune. Shout out once again to Biodome. Like, I've only heard this version, but I just love the arrangement. I love how it's hard, it's driving, there's that smashing cymbal that's, in lockstep with the kick drum for a lot of the track. I love that laser-ish, fragmented, very rapid-fire, hardcore synth. And again, I love the breakdown hip-hop sections. I've said it for as long as I've been doing reaction videos, nay, since I became a fan of hardcore in the second half of the 90s. Hardcore that samples hip-hop, I always enjoy, because number one, it's just two flavors of music that I'm very fond of synthesized together. But I just think they go together. There's a similarity of atmosphere and attitude and toughness. So I think they tend to blend well. And this one is a great example where it's a more melodic hip-hop sample, but I love the way it goes, or it sounds in that initial breakdown. And then I like in the latter stages of the tune when we get that melody, but with the driving kick drum and bass line. So once again, shout out to Biodome, shout out to Gabberhead, the label. Let me know what you think, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.